And so then we ended up with that pilot, we call it, 20 customers and 6 schools.
And how long did the pilot run for?
It was basically that school year. We had about that many, but we were writing the business plan at the same time.
Right.
And it was really, even though we were obviously not making any money, we understood the logistics at that point.
Right.
So
really important.
It really gave us a lot of clarity around what our company needed to look like in order to make money.
And to grow, to like hire people and all that stuff.
I mean, $1 million was like, well, how do we get to $1 million? Like that was the question. And so we figured out a lot of things. We figured out, one, we can't do it lunchbox by lunchbox. We have to do it cafeteria by cafeteria. The second thing we realized was obviously our temporary kitchen wasn't going to do it, so we needed to find a commissary kitchen. We understood we needed to have the same menu for all of our clients, and we understood that our delivery needed to, we had to have a minimum. So we could deliver so many lunches at one time. And it made me understand why every one of these delivery family meal services go out of business. Like immediately I understood, because you cannot deliver $150 worth of stuff at a time and make any money.
And I mean, you probably experienced this as you grew. I mean, all food service providers have that too. When you're buying from wholesalers, whether it's alcohol or food, I mean, most of them have a minimum delivery because they will go out of business too, and you won't be able to get your raw materials unless you go to Jetros and pick it up yourself.
Or you pay like really high prices from
they charge a fee. Some of them, it's interesting, some of the food suppliers, beverage doesn't do this so much, but food will charge you a fuel surcharge, and there's like all these extra fees. And it's like, man, can you just all make it one, like just charge me more for the food, but if you're not ordering a lot, they'll definitely hit you up so that they stay in business.
And I had a great executive chef eventually that understood all of that, and he would call those folks and beat them to death.
Well, you have to also, because they'll take advantage of you. If you don't.
And I didn't know, but he knew. So
I got that early on. I started running my first restaurant at 17. And it was in Virginia, but it was a bunch of New Yorkers, and they were just so cutthroat and just so nasty. Especially down there, nobody was used to it. Everybody was just like a good old boy, and they were like, "What the fuck you talking about?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, that's how you do it." I had to unlearn a few practices because some of it was just like, "Oh, this is just bad." But yeah, it's a big deal, and you really have to pay attention, because if not, you'll get taken advantage of that way as well, and that will put you out of business.
That will put you out of business, especially when your product is school lunch, which everybody thinks should be free anyway.
Right, and nobody cares.
And well, they do care, fortunately.
Well, they do, but not at that level.
But they don't care enough to think that you're worth paying like actual value for what you're doing.
And a couple ladies running the company, and you had a lot of barriers. You had a lot of obstacles.
We did, exactly.
Somehow I feel like you enjoy that, though. You like a good fight.
You know what? It was good. It was a really good experience, and I understand. But I definitely, every time something would happen, the model would evolve a little bit more, and I understood what the pricing model. Eventually, actually, it took me until year 3 to understand the pricing model, and then it took me 18 months to change the pricing model.
We're going through the same thing here. We're at 4 years right now, and I'd say it took me 3 to just get a handle on all that, and then start to implement. And the people that I had too were a big part of it, that we had worked together so long, and that we had found this really great rhythm, and shared enough information with the people that needed to know to help make these decisions, especially the people that were doing a lot of the really important work. And I feel like this year coming up, it could be good.
Exactly.
But it literally takes that long.
It does take that long.
Especially if it's not a franchise model where this has been tried and tested and done before. Here's your handbook.
Right.
This is how you start.
That's a very different
even
experience.
I'd done restaurants before, I'd done other businesses. This one was brand new in this iteration, and you're gonna struggle no matter what. A few people might get lucky, but I bank on some major obstacles.
Right, absolutely.
I think that's par for the course. I think that's just going to happen.
Exactly. And if you do get lucky, beware.
Yeah.
Because when
it's
you
only
start
one
your
time.
second business, forget about it. It's like having that first easy child.
I know, I was going to say the same exact thing.
I'm such a great parent.
I got one, man, I remember that because our first was so easy. And then we would see these parents with this kid doing a hallelujah fit, and I'd be like, oh, it's the parents. This parent's not paying attention. And then we had the demon child. And I was like, no, it wasn't the parents.
Exactly.
Sorry, Ada.
No, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So how was the transition then from that? You basically did your first pilot year. You got to understand this stuff by year 3.
Yep.
You're like, okay, I know what I need to do now. Did you develop enough revenue in that time period that you could expand yourself? Did you have to borrow money? How did the scale look like for you?
So we got to
You don't have to
break
be too
even.
specific.
Yeah,
but,
so we got to break even, and then we did need to invest in order
sure.
to.
I think you
grow.
constantly have to, no matter what.
So we just it was scary because I needed
Sure.
a massive commissary kitchen, which costs a lot of money in New York City.
Absolutely.
And so I was constantly, well, maybe I could just rent one more time. Maybe I could find a little bit bigger commissary. And then I did that until I was renting from this one caterer who basically pulled the rug out from under us.
Yeah.
About 6 weeks before school was over.
They'll do that too.
It was really
I know other people that's happened to.
frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, our rent I think was around, I don't even remember. I mean, but they like jacked our rent 2.5 times, and said you have to start paying this immediately.
And when you don't have like a brick and mortar lease, you really could be under the.
It was the end of the lease.
Yeah.
So it was the case where they could do this.
Yeah.
Right. So they followed by the agreement. You know, in terms of that, they gave us whatever it was, the notice or whatever. And so it became extremely painful to the point where, and that's what usually happens, right? Like there's a crisis. All right, I guess we better get off our butt and do something. And
that's the only way I learned.
I was fortunate enough to be introduced to a partner who was also looking to invest in a commissary space. So we started shopping together for warehouses, and we found one in Sunnyside. In order to get the money, I remortgaged my apartment in order to take money out, in order to invest in it. Our investment was about $250,000. His was about $250,000, and then we put together our space. It was about a 5,000 square foot space.
Oh. That's big.
Yeah, it was big.
Good.
So about 3,500 of it was kitchen and dry storage. Well, a little bit more was dry storage. Maybe 400 or 500 was dry storage. And then we had an office and a dock, a loading dock.
Yeah, need to have that. Yeah. That's great. And then what year was that in terms of in the business life cycle?
That was about 4 years in.
Okay. So reinvestment, expansion, more staff.
Yeah.
You were not cooking at that point, I hope.
No, I was not.
You were not delivering at that point.
No.
You were not working 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Good.
No. Yeah.
And how did that feel?
It was good, but it was still a very 12-hour day job.
Well, that's
at that point I had like 60 employees.
I think that's one thing that people need to understand. Like I hear a lot of people talk about wanting to get to that point where they have this business that kind of runs itself and they don't have to be there cooking and delivering and doing all that stuff.
Right.
But you still work your ass off.
Absolutely.
You're not like on the golf course or the beach 75% of the time.
No.
Answering a phone call going, "Oh, yeah. No, just fire him." And then you go back to like it's not really like that.
It's not
and
really
I think
like that.
people that are really going after it end up taking on more and more. They really work a lot. They work a whole lot.
And that can lead to burnout, right? And so that's why you have to be really careful about like the pace you grow to.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to try to, again, use that white space to see what's coming up.
Yeah.
So that you can figure out how to put the right support system in place so that you can check yourself a little bit when you start to make decisions under that major stress.
Yeah. Fortunately, I haven't hit that point yet.
Good.
I'm going big. And so at what point did you sell the company? Was there a period where you just were operating smoothly for a while and things were good? Or did you just get to a certain point and you're like, let's sell now, let's do it?
Well, I had year-over-year growth every single year, which
Great.
was great. We always added between 1 and 4 customers every single year.
And you're talking cafeterias, not like one person.
Exactly,
Yes.
cafeterias, clients. And we got to the point where we actually brought on 2 corporate clients as well.
Great.
Which was really
good. Big.
So we were, so it was always good. It was never not good.
Good.
But I was, during the summer, working so hard and never seeing my kids.
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself,
living that entrepreneurial dream, right?
I was like, you know what? I do want to actually spend time with them.
Were there schools that you were providing services to or something during the summer?
We had
I guess
several
there's like
summer camps.
Summer camps, yeah.
So one of them was even a boarding camp, so 3 meals a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
We also had our own summer camp that we ran, which was a farm-to-table garden experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Very
cool.
cool.
It was really awesome. And then any new customers were doing build-outs during the summer.
Yeah.
So I was always the person. I was like basically project manager for all of that.
Right.
So
summer was probably your time to bring them on, right? Because like you needed to be ready by September.
Exactly. Yeah, and there were a few schools that were like 3 months before September, ready to like make a deal. I'm like, oh. But nevertheless,
there goes vacation. Sorry, kids.
It was no vacation for me. And I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to sell this company. Like that was the plan from the beginning. Let's just do it now because it's showing growth. That's definitely going to feed the multiple. I had the margins to where I needed the margins.
You don't want to sell when it's like
and the margins were good, which also feed the multiple, and so that was all a part of what was going on for me.
Gotcha. And it was a good experience, good sale. You're happy with the way it went down.
Very much so.
Lawyers are a must.
Sally Ann Hughes for my business broker. She was a phenomenal broker, and my attorney was amazing.
Yeah, I used one when we sold the coffee shop, and it made the experience so much more enjoyable.
Oh yeah, I mean, she dug into my business. She wrote the amazing pitch book. She had access to my QuickBooks. She could run reports.
Well, you gotta pony that stuff up anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was really great.
Nice. So what was life like after that then? So you sold, you got a good chunk of change again, you had free time again, but just the little bit I know about you, you were not like, okay, now we get to go on vacation. Yeah, exactly.
No, it wasn't like that at all. So I'm definitely very involved in my kids' life. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. I'm on my son's PTA. So I definitely do things for them and help, whatever they need. And then also I started my group coaching business and my private coaching business. So that's really where it started. Yeah. So before I sold Butterbeans, I thought to myself, well, I need to know where I'm going.
Right.
So I really enjoyed the training aspect of my job. I hired hundreds of people over the course of the last few years. And so I really enjoyed that part of it. Creating the OJT processes for everybody, helping them understand how things are done, and understanding how this impacts quality, all of those things. And I wanted to do something where I could have flexibility. I didn't want anything hair on fire crisis type of business model, which food is. School lunch cannot be late.
I've been told that.
And it needs to taste good. So I wanted something like that, a little bit less lower key, and the margins were also very important to me.
Sure.
So that's why I decided to do coaching. And
margins are a little better there, aren't they?
They are, but it's not scalable to do one-on-one coaching, right? So that's why I built the platform for group coaching. I did a pilot online course last fall in 2018. And so out of that came the idea for peer-to-peer, which is my current online group coaching program.
Okay.
And so that is definitely built for a more scalable business model. But I enjoy the one-on-ones as well.
Sure. No,
and then I do some consulting here or there opportunistically.
So there's a digital component to the business?
Yes, it's 100% all online.
Okay. So, but when you do private, do you meet with people? I'm assuming it's not always like
95%
telecalled in.
95% of the time it's a video conference.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of flexibility.
Oh yeah.
So you could do it from the beach.
I could definitely do. I could do it from anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big.
You just
part.
need a good signal, and then you're.
Yeah. So because it has to do with my target market.
Yeah.
So my private business is people from maybe 250,000 to 10 million in revenues.